Cue, spit.
Alright, so in today's video we are going to show you how to cut barrel crowns on either new barrels or old barrels with barrel crowning tools. Now this assignment of course is for Sonoran Desert Institute's FTT 211 Part 2 class, where we have the muzzleloader that we build in the first session, so this is all going to be a part of the Kentucky Rifle series. The reason I'm shooting this video instead of sending pictures as an assignment is because the school sent a brass lapping tool to cut a crown with. That is not how we cut crowns. We are cutting crowns by hand by using a file to true the muzzle surface to bring it concentric with the crown. But the problem with that is no human being has the ability to file such a precise surface to make a functional crown. I don't care how good you are at doing it, you cannot do that unless you are concentric with the bore. You're gonna be off somewhere, and it's gonna knock your crown off. Granted, what am I bitching about, right? It is just a muzzle loader. It's a smoke pole. It's gonna have no accuracy at all. There's two ways of doing this. The first way, and probably the best and most precise way to do this, is on a metal lathe. Chuck your barrel in the lathe, find the center, ensure everything's lined up, and then you can start cutting the crown down and shaping the crown. But first you want to true the surface. So the solution we have are these hand tools. So right here, we have a facing tool. This is going to interface with this brass pilot inside the bore, which is going to bring the tool concentric with the muzzle. And as we turn this, it's going to face the muzzle perfectly concentric with the bore, which is the birth of a new crown. And to bring that new crown to life, we have an 11-degree piloted cutting tool, which of course the brass pilot would sit in here. What do we do with the brass lap? Well, we're going to show you that as well, but the brass lap would be used after this process to remove any of the minute tooling marks that these reamers are going to leave behind. So let's take a look, shall we? So first thing we're going to do, if you look at this pilot right here, there's a flat spot on the pilot. And we need to insert this flat spot over this set screw. And we'll actuate the set screw downward until the pilot is set. Then we'll start to screw in our handle and simply insert it in the tip of the bore. Now we want to apply a generous amount of oil to both the reamer and the face of what is going to become the crown. And using light pressure, allow the tool to do the cutting. You want to avoid any vibrations in the tool, and you want to keep a generous amount of oil on it. As you can see right now, right here is where we have an unlevel portion. Now I know this looks really rough, but you're going to get that with these tools. Eventually there's a way to smooth this out, and that's where the lapping process comes in. So once you have finished facing the front of this barrel, this is what you're going to be left with. Now you're going to have a really rough surface on here. Now there's a few tricks. Is you can take a file on some sandpaper and you can run it across the top, but therein lies the issue that you could sand this crown out of concentricity with the bore. So you get a piece of 240, obviously paper back so it doesn't dull your tool, and slide it on down. This is pretty simple. It's a little trick. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, maybe I'm doing it right, but you know what? This has worked for me. Just do it in a single direction. If it's not pulling them out quick enough, which it's pulling them out, you know, you can always drop down to like some 180 grit. You got to be careful because your tool is going to tend to wear through a little. Might wear off the silicon carbide, but it'll be fine. So patiently continue the polishing process. I like to go up to about 600 grit. Leaves about the ideal look of the finish I want on there. Again, the reason we're doing this, we're not putting a lot of pressure to cut through the paper. We're just using the tool to move the paper as a polishing media on here. So we get a nice, beautiful polish that's concentric with the crown. And as you can see, that is a nice, beautiful polish. It's going to blend well with the rest of the gun. We are flush with the bore, properly cut surface for a crown. And not only that, we've actually polished it for when we blew. We're killing two birds with one stone. No chatter marks, no nothing. We are now ready to install the pilot onto the 11 degree crowning tool. This will cut an 11 degree crown onto the face of the muzzle. Now it's 3/4 of an inch. And I kind of went for that for a reason, and once it's done, you'll kind of see, because we'll have somewhat of a stepped crown in here. That's kind of what I was going for. Slowly, once again, slowly cut your crown. You can use a drill for this, but there's no need to. You just do this by hand. It's going to take a little longer. But I always like to say, the speed in which you work shall reflect the quality of work you crank out. If you feel yourself starting to cut through the sandpaper, just lightly move it to where none of the teeth are contacted that cut through portion of the sandpaper. And just continue to run it, man. And this is going to give you really beautiful results. It's not going to dull your tool. And that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. I'm going to take some of this compound that I've worked. This is 1200 grit, and we're just going to lap this crown. You don't need a lot of pressure. I just let it float on here. You want to let the compound do the cutting. And the tool is used as a means for the compound to embed itself into the brass, which in then turns polishes the crown and the surface, removing all the tooling marks. And that is one sharp crown there.
All in all, what you just watched was the steps of me facing, crowning, and then lapping a barrel. Part of this assignment has to include the specifications of, like, my drill speed. I don't know. I squeeze the trigger on it for whatever feels right to me, and I run with it. It doesn't take long to lap a crown. It's pretty simple. The lapping compound I mix up a combination of oil base grease type mixture with silicon carbide powder, and I get it. That was about 800 grit, and that seems to work really good. As far as any steps that I might have found particularly difficult in this process was time management. They've given us 4 weeks to complete a brand new rifle from start to finish and do a full refinishing on it. That is not enough time, especially when we're talking about staining wood and doing stock prep work. As far as how I overcame that challenge is I had to hit up my instructor and be like, bro, I need more time. This is absolutely insane because I am struggling to find time to get this class done. So that is what it is. We got more videos dropping on the Kentucky Rifle build, so stay tuned for more. Please hit the subscribe button below. Thanks for watching. I'm the Gun Psychiatrist signing off, and God bless America again.